Hi everyone, and welcome to this short introductory video for the reading this week. So in seminars, we're going to be discussing Claudia Rankine's Citizen, an American Lyric, a fantastic poetry collection that's one of my favorites of the last 10 years. So let's begin. So just before we start, I just want to remind everyone of the principles for the seminar discussion that we agreed to back at the start of term, and just to particularly flag two of these for this week. The first is to be aware of your privileges, particularly your racialized privilege, if you think about this week's reading, and just try to be conscious of this as you participate in the seminar. And the second one is around believing people's accounts of their experiences of marginalization. So you might notice that in the text, there's lots of different examples of microaggression and people's experiences of racism. And of course, this might lead students to share their own experiences in class, and that would be very welcome. But also we need to make sure that we honor people's vulnerability by not ever disputing their lived experience. And of course, there's no pressure to share any experiences either, if you don't feel comfortable doing so. So onto the text itself then. And I wanted to open with this quotation by Claudia Rankine herself, which she gave in an interview with The Guardian newspaper back in 2015. And she says that blackness in the white imagination has nothing to do with Black people. And this quote, I think, really gets to the heart of Claudia Rankine's project in Citizen, not only to attend to racialized injustice, but also to heighten our understanding of the construction of white imagination as it commits violence upon Black people. And there are some key terms that I want us to think about in relation to Citizen that we need to understand in order to get a good appreciation for the text. Those include the idea of the microaggression. So these are kind of small racist incidents that can accumulate and lead to racial trauma. So that might be historical, but it might also be present, kind of experienced through those microaggressions. And the final term I want us to think about in seminars is this idea of the text as a testament or testimony. And what does it mean for Claudia Rankine to be collecting these stories of racist incidents and sharing them together and creating the collection as a kind of testimony of those accounts? And another important aspect of the text, which you'll have noticed, is how the collection switches between different forms. So there's verse, there's essays, there's collections of second-person narratives, and there's also a lot of images and visual art throughout the text. So one of the questions I want us to think about in the seminar is how we read this text and image together. So please take notes on the following questions and bring these to class. So the first being, consider how the cover image shown here and the title of the collection relate to each other, or do they juxtapose one another? So you could think here about how the words citizen, American, and lyric compare with this particular cover image, which shows the hoodie here. So have a think about that. The second more broad question is around what role the images play in this poetry collection. So how do the images arrest the reader's attention while you're kind of moving through the text? And finally, think about how these notions of image and text might fit within or against the ideas of racism and racialization in the collection. So you could think here about how we might not be able to always read the images and the text together. There's a kind of illegibility there, which might also have resonances with how we understand race. So the final task for you before the seminars is to pay close attention to this particular page, 134 to 135 of the collection, and to write a 200-word reflection on this bit of text in your learning journal. So firstly, just think about what links the names on the left. And I want you to really reflect on how this makes you feel. So it's a very kind of emotional piece of text, this, so really reflect on that. I want you to think about what effect is created by fading the line in memory through the page, and how the poem is enacting this sense of memorialization. And finally, I want you to think about how Rankine manipulates the space of the page to enact some of these ideas. So you can see on the left and the right, there's lots of open white space in the text. So just have a think about and reflect on and write down what you think these white spaces could represent. Okay, thanks everyone. And I really look forward to discussing this in more detail in the seminars this week.